Denise, are you ready? Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the hybrid virtual planning commission meeting of December 10th, 2020. I would like to remind everyone to please silence all electronic devices. And for those who are attending virtually, please mute your microphones while you're not speaking. At this time, I would like to ask you to please rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Jamie Girardi,
Here.
Michael Cox,
Here.
Peter Hensel, Roberto Size,
Here.
Christopher Poole,
Here.
Chris Williams,
Here.
Chairman Gray.
All right, thank you. The Planning Commission is appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. We meet twice a month. The Planning Commission serves as the local planning agency. The Planning Commission holds public hearings and transmits to the Board of County Commissioners recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings, and conditional use requests. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any comprehensive plan amendment, land development code amendment, rezoning, conditional use, or any item where the Planning Commission transmits a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it is important that you attend the appropriate Board of County Commissioners meeting. I don't think we have any minutes to approve this month or this meeting. So now we will move on to the public comment on non-agenda items. First, we'll take public comments for items that are not on today's agenda from the public comment kiosk and from WebEx participants who have pre-registered and are currently on queue. After that, we'll read into record public comments, documents, PowerPoints, or videos that have been identified by members of the public to be read out loud or played at the meeting for items that are not on the agenda, not to exceed 3 minutes for each item. Denise, do we have anyone pre-registered or send emails to make comments on non-agenda items?
Mr. Chairman, we do not.
Okay. So we will move on to the public hearing procedures. Participants attending through the public comment kiosk and WebEx participants, including the applicants who have pre-registered for the hybrid virtual planning commission meeting, will be notified by county staff when they will be permitted to speak. Applicants will be limited to 5 minutes, and other participants will be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is approved at least 24 hours in advance of the meeting. And I think we do have one request for 15 minutes for item.
Yes, we do. That's on item P5.
That will be granted. Participants attending through the public comment kiosk and WebEx participants must announce the following items before speaking, and at that time, they will be sworn in by the clerk. You must announce your name, your address, the agenda item, or the agenda item title. Then the 3 or 5 minute timer will start. After public comment kiosk and WebEx participants, we will read into the public record comments, documents, PowerPoints, or videos that have been identified by members of the public to be read out loud or played at the meeting, limited to 5 minutes for the applicants and 3 minutes for other participants. Today, we have 3 public hearing items on the consent agenda. These items will be approved by roll call vote unless the item is pulled from consent. Once a motion is made on the consent agenda, the Planning Commission member who makes the motion will state his name. The Planning Commission member who seconds the motion will state his name, and the clerk will call the roll. Madam Clerk, do we have proof?
Yes, these matters were advertised in the Tampa Bay Times on October 21st, November 15th, and December 2nd.
Okay, thank you. And Denise, do you want to go ahead with the consent items?
Sure, we'll go over the consent items. I do want to say on this first item, which is PC1, it was advertised for a continuance, but we do have Mr. Dukowitz at the public comment kiosk. So I will read the item into record, and it is a request for continuance. The item is PDD 217506. It's a zoning amendment for trust number 7541207 Land Service Corporation, trustee, for a change in zoning from AR Agricultural Residential District, AC Agricultural District, and C2 General Commercial District to a C2 General Commercial District and an I1 Light Industrial Park District. Again, the recommendation is a continuance to the January 7th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City. Not sure if Mr. Dukowitz, who is at the kiosk, would like to speak. I believe that, and David might want to chime in if he is allowed. I'm not sure if he would be allowed to speak today or if he would speak at the next Planning Commission meeting.
So if he wants to speak today, the Planning Commission does not have to let him speak at the next Planning Commission meeting. So it's really up to Mr. Dukowitz as to whether he wants to speak today or at the next meeting.
Today would be fine.
Okay,
Okay,
Mr.
but
Dirkway?
you understand that you may not be able to speak at the next meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Dirkway, are you the applicant or are you?
I'm here in a representative capacity for one of the landowners, Cynthia Dukowitz,
Okay.
adjacent to the property.
Okay, if you can, just state your name, your address, and the item number, and the clerk will swear you in.
And we'll swear them. Okay, thank you.
Now, Attorney Ed Dukowitz, in representative capacity for Cynthia Dukowitz. My address is 32710 Blueberry Hill Way, Dade City, Florida, as is hers, zip code 33523.
Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I'm here to voice opposition to any zoning change to this area. First off, the zoning change requested and been approved along the line is inconsistent with the county plan, with the comprehensive plan. Secondly, your own compatibility chart that's found in the comprehensive plan does not find compatibility in the zoning requested with the surrounding area. In fact, it specifically exempts the northeast section from a transitional zoning. Thirdly, the property sought to be rezoned is protected under the northeast quadrant overlay, and it's supposed to be maintained in a rural area. What you're doing here, what you're asked to do, is spot zoning, plain and simple. You're asked to rezone a piece of agricultural property which is surrounded by agricultural property, except for the employment center, as to rezone it into light industrial. Your own policy, which is policy section FLU A7, commercial nodes, limits the commercial development to 660 feet square along the roadside and going back. And what you're done here, or what you're asked to do here, is to rezone a huge chunk of property, probably to the tune of about 45 acres, as commercial. That's not allowed under your own comprehensive plan and under your own future land use requirements. Also, there's that policy refers to 1.6.1, which talks about commercial development in land that was already zoned commercial. This was not. There are only 8 pieces of property in the county that are considered employment centers. This is a specific zoning for a specific use. What you're asked to do here is to destroy them. Now, is that the 2-minute warning? Okay. So what I'm saying here is that if you go ahead and do this, what you're doing is opening the door for commercial and industrial development in the entire northeast section, because you, in good faith, cannot argue later on that this is just a limited application. It's not. You're sticking commercial zoning and industrial zoning in the heart of northeast rural Pasco County. And what you're doing is you're destroying it. Now, you'll move on and you'll move out of state, but everybody else is going to be stuck here with a bad decision on this item. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dirkowitz, for your input there. And as Denise indicated at the beginning and as indicated on the agenda, this item is scheduled for a continuance, so it will be reheard. Looks like they're requesting a continuance to January 7th. Is that an applicant requesting continuance, Denise, or?
It's an applicant requested continuance, January 7th, 2021, 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay. So
Mr.
unfortunately,
Chair,
we have limited information at this point, so we'll hear it again. Go ahead, David.
even though it's a continuance item, I still think the applicant should have a opportunity to speak to what was said if they want to, or they can just rebut in January. But if the applicant's online, I don't want them to not have an opportunity to rebut if they want to.
Okay. Is the applicant present?
The applicant, Barbara Wilhite, is virtually present.
Planning Commission members, this is Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey, Florida, 34652. I've taken notes of what the neighbor, I guess representing his wife, has stated, and we will be prepared to address any of those concerns at the actual hearing that we're requesting occur on January 7th.
Okay, does she need to be sworn in?
She may have, unless she was already sworn, yes.
No problem.
I don't think we've sworn any.
Yeah, I don't think we swore anybody in.
I don't think we've sworn anyone in. So do you want to do that now? Swear everyone in?
Yeah, I mean, if you intend to give any testimony or if you intend to give any presentation during the meeting, if you can, raise your right hand and the clerk will swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay, and as the only continuance item, do we need to vote on this item separately or can we keep it on the consent agenda?
I think you should vote on it separately.
Okay.
Because it's not really a consent approval, it's a continuance.
Continuance, right? Is there anything else from the, up here from the board? Or a motion to continue?
Motion to continue PC 1. Chris Poole.
Second.
Chris Poole.
Roberto Saiz.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Chairman, it's Michael Cox.
Oh, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Under discussion, David, do you have any comment on what the gentleman in the kiosk said there during the public comment?
Well, I may or may not have comment, but it's the applicant's duty to show consistency with the comp plan. So I would really need Barbara to make that argument, which she intends to do with the next hearing. So if I think there's anything wrong with what Barbara says, I will weigh in at that time. But for now, I would defer to the applicant.
Okay, I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, we had a motion and a second. We'll have a roll call vote.
Jamie Girardi,
Aye.
Michael Cox,
Aye.
Roberto Saiz,
Aye.
Christopher Poole,
Aye.
Chris Williams,
Aye.
and thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Following item is PC2. That item is PDD 212088. It's a variance request for Pasco Ranch, Inc., Floor and Decor, for an increase in the maximum allowable sign structure area for wall signage from 150 square feet to 442.74 square feet on the south building elevation in a master plan unit development district. This item comes to you with a recommendation of approval with conditions as included in your agenda packet, and the applicant is virtually present.
Okay, does the applicant wish to speak on this item?
The applicant is available for any questions you may have.
Is there anyone else here to, or anyone else present to comment on this item?
We have no one at the kiosk, nor have we received any emails or letters or anything to be read into the record today.
Okay. Any other comment up here? If not, I think we'll go ahead and move on to PC3.
Thank you. PC3 is PDD 217508 in the name of 2GAAG LLC. It's for a zoning amendment, a change in zoning from a C2 general commercial district and R4 high-density residential district to a C2 general commercial district. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
Okay.
And the applicant is virtually present.
And does the applicant wish to make any presentation at this time?
The applicant is here for any questions that you may have. We have no one at the public comment kiosk, nor have we received any letters to be read into record.
Okay. Any other comment from up here?
Nope.
Okay, so we just need a motion on the consent agenda?
Remove.
I'll second.
Second.
All right, so no further discussion. We'll have a roll call vote.
Jamie Girardi,
Aye.
Michael Cox,
Aye.
Roberto Size,
Aye.
Christopher Poole,
Aye.
Chris Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we'll move on to the regular items on the agenda.
Okay, on item P4, that will be presented by Christina Costa, and I will be sharing my screen, so if you give me a second.
Hey, good afternoon. This is Christina Acosta from Planning and Development Department. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep,
Yes.
very good.
Excellent. The next item on our agenda is PDD 21-7503. It's a zoning amendment in the name of Chelsea Acquisition and Chelsea Acquisition 2 for a change in zoning from R4 High Density Residential District and C2 Commercial Neighborhood Commercial District to an MF2 Multiple Family High Density District. It is located on the east side of Old Dixie Highway and north of Gulf Way. The site contains approximately 64.33 acres and is undeveloped. The applicants propose to develop the site with multiple family dwellings in conformance with MF2 Multiple Family High Density Development District standards. The site is part of an expired PUD, Plan Unit Development, which was approved for multifamily dwellings. Phase 1 of this PUD was constructed before the entitlements expired and is what is currently the park at Chelsea Apartments. On August 9, 2005, the PUD, Plan Unit Development Zoning District, was repealed through ordinance number 05-32. In accordance with the LDC section 521.1, a PUD plan that expires shall cause the property to revert to the zoning district that existed prior to the rezoning of the PUD. The expired PUD portion of the site had an original zoning of R4 High Density Residential District. The surrounding area is characterized by single-family and multifamily residential uses, and the site has a future land use classification of Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per acre under the comprehensive plan. And here is a look of the surrounding zoning. It is R4 with the exception of the existing apartments which are zoned PUD. And the future land use for the entire site is R6, Res 6. And here's an aerial showing an overview of the site and where the development is proposed. And here's the last slide showing where the developable area is. And we're going to leave this slide up after the conclusion of my presentation so the applicant can explain that part a little bit more. And this comes to you with a recommendation of approval, and I am here for any questions you have.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Christina up here? Chris?
Chairman, Christina, will the entitlements be the same as, what's being asked for will be what was the case before it expired?
Well, they were approved for multifamily, but it was as part of a larger PUD. So they did build part of it, but not all of it. So under their the current zoning now, they would be an R4, which is a very high density residential district with very small lots. And what they're proposing are these multifamily units, which will allow them to cluster the development into this brown area that you see so that they're not disturbing any of the wetland areas and allow for drainage.
Christina, question for you, and I'm pretty sure the answer is that I hope the developer will keep the same concept that they have at existence, so the same type of townhouses and appearance.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes. As part of the deed restriction, they're going to be required to keep a townhouse type product to keep consistency with the original or with the existing multifamily that's there. And the development will be capped. So to keep the density very low.
More than a question, I have a comment. So I'm glad to see this type of project in Hudson area, to be honest with you, that investor is willing to develop this type of project in Hudson. As a Pasco citizen, seeing that is a plus.
Hear anything, Chris, from you?
No, sir. I'm
Okay,
good.
is the applicant virtually in attendance?
I am, Mr. Chairman. This is Clark Hobby and Hobby PA, 109 Northwest Street, Tampa, Florida. Have been sworn. Before I get started, if I could ask staff, is anyone present at the kiosk to object today? Because I think the only reason this isn't on the consent agenda is we might have received 1 or 2 emails.
That is correct. Nobody is at the kiosk and no one has signed up to participate via WebEx.
Okay, well, I'll keep this short then and can answer any questions. As staff noted, this is in the West Market area in the Harbors District. The county spent a lot of time studying the area, and after a great deal of work product came together in the Harbors plan, the gist of what the county wants to do in this area is to take advantage of the vacant, unused, and underdeveloped properties in the area that the Harbors plan said resulted in a continuous underdevelopment, that was the phrase in the plan, of the area, and that it had aging housing stock that needed to be readdressed. So as a result of all the work that went into that, the county also, just this year, the board voted to eliminate mobility fees in this entire region so that on vacant and infill parcels. So the county clearly wants parcels like this redeveloped. My client already owns the existing phase 1 that are townhouses and just wants to build a phase 2. And as you can see on the shot that Denise has up right now, the development areas are all essentially inside of or west of the existing townhouse areas. And the old green area that was the old golf course will remain in effect and intact. Will probably be some walking paths, but the new townhouses won't be located in that area. So I know we're consistent with the comp plan and with the county's vision for the area. We've done our homework on the transportation stuff, and as you heard from Christina, we're going to limit it by virtue of a deed restriction to not more than 231 townhouses, so that the density will be under the MPUD trigger. It'll also be well under the density that would have been allowed under the comp plan and under the R4 zoning. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions up here for Clark? Chris?
For Clark or for staff, but the 1 or 2 people who were in opposition, do you know where they were located? Were they outside of the project total, or were they part of phase 1?
I can, if it's okay, I can answer that, Chris. I think that the answer is important. 2 reasons. Number 1, the people were east and northeast of the property boundary. They were outside of our boundary, but there is some concern about flooding in the area. And we're working with the county staff and with the resident commissioner right now on a plan. We may end up giving the county some easements or right-of-way that will allow the county, through a cooperative funding deal with SwiftMud, to actually alleviate some of the flooding. So the only two concerns that I've heard were flooding, and some people had basic transportation questions, but we have Steve Henry on here and he will attest, and his timing and phasing analysis shows that there's plenty of capacity on the adjacent roadway network.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I just want for the record to state that I had a ex parte meeting with Mr. Hobby over this.
And I provided, this is Clark Hobby again, I provided to staff the ex parte forms for those of you all that I met with.
Yes, all the ex parte forms are part of the record.
Okay. All right, Roberto or Chris, anything else to the applicant?
No, I'll echo what Roberto said. It's good to see this type of development in that area. I appreciate the consideration the developer is doing with buffering the development and keeping the golf course that's on the perimeter. I think it's going to be a great development for that area. So appreciate the developers' investment in that area.
No, I echo that as well, and I did notice in the conditions, there is also a substandard road condition for Sea Pines Drive, so there's items of traffic as well as stormwater that are addressed in the conditions, so thank you, Clark.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, Michael Cox, I'll move for approval.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. There's no further discussion. We'll do a roll call vote.
Jamie Girardi,
Aye.
Michael Cox,
Aye.
Roberto Size,
Aye.
Christopher Poole,
Aye.
Chris Williams.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The following item will be presented by Christina Acosta.
Denise, can we go to the next slide? Perfect. Okay, the next item on the agenda is PDD 21-CU08. This is a conditional use in the name of Adventist Health System Sunbelt Healthcare. This would allow multifamily dwellings in a C2 district. General Commercial District is located on the west side of Bruce B. Downs Boulevard, approximately 350 feet south of Eagleston Boulevard. This site contains 16.24 acres and is undeveloped. The applicant is proposing to develop the site with a maximum of 248 multiple family dwellings. The surrounding area is characterized by residential and commercial uses. The subject area has a future land use classification of MU, mixed uses, under the comprehensive plan. And the site is outside of the policy area for the newly adopted multifamily review process for projects along State Road 56, the 5654 corridor. Here's a look at the surrounding zoning and the future land use. And here's an aerial showing the access from Bruce B. Downs. And then the last slide we have is a conceptual site plan to give you an idea of what the applicant is planning, and we'll leave that up on the screen so they can speak to that if they want, but I believe the applicant also has their own presentation.
Christina, did you have an item to be read into record on this one?
I do. So we did receive one email in opposition that had the request to read into the record, and whenever we're ready, I can do that. Okay.
All right, Christina.
I am a longtime resident. This is from Mr. Todd Yontek. I am a longtime resident of Pasco County, Wesley Chapel, and the Seven Oaks community. There is plenty of apartments and housing in this area already. The area is densely populated without enough supportive services such as restaurants, grocery stores, offices, medical offices, recreational facilities, etc. This would truly be poor planning by the commission if it keeps adding apartment complexes without encouraging the building of the infrastructure to support the increasing population density in this area. This parcel was designated C2 General Commercial for a reason as part of the greater plan to develop this area, and one that I signed up for when investing in Wesley Chapel. The only deviation from this original plan I would support would be to return this parcel to wetlands or create a park.
All right. Thank you, Christina. Any questions up here for Christina? Is the applicant virtually present?
Yes, hi, this is Barbara Wilhite.
Yeah, Barbara, real quick, I think you've asked for and been granted the 15 minutes for your presentation, so just want to point that out or make that part of the record.
Thank you. Is there anybody at the kiosk?
There is no one at the public comment kiosk on this item.
Okay, thank you. Let me introduce my team that's on WebEx with me somewhere in this WebEx platform. I have Aaron Landry from Mass Capital. I have Pete Pensa from Avid Group, Director of Planning. Charlie Potter, Avid Group, Project Engineer. Steve Henry from Langston Associates, our Transportation Engineer. Pete Pensa from Avid is going to go over the PowerPoint presentation that our team put together, and then we're available to have any questions or any follow-up.
You did say that was Pete Pensa that was going to be presenting?
That's correct.
He now has the ability to present his presentation.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Pete Pensa. I'm Director of Planning with Avid Group. I'm an AICP certified planner.
Just a moment, if I may. I have their presentation, so can I, would you allow me to share the screen?
Would you like me to share? I could bring up the PowerPoint of mine.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Pete, can you just acknowledge that you have been sworn, please?
I have been sworn.
Thank you.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yep.
Okay. This is the general format I'm gonna walk through for the presentation. Hang on, there we go. Now it's moving. Okay.
Before you start,
Yes.
go to the top where it says display settings, because we're seeing the presenter's view, not the full view of the screen.
Okay.
And swap presenter view and slideshow. There you go. Now that's good.
Okay. There we go. Okay, the site is outlined in yellow on this drawing. The site address is 5101 Bruce B. Downs Boulevard. We're located a quarter mile south of Wesley Chapel Boulevard with direct frontage on Bruce B. Downs and Eagleston Boulevard, which is the road that wraps around to the north and west of the site. The area is a mixed-use node. We've called out a few uses to show you what's in the area. There's the Village Market Shopping Center, which is predominantly retail, but there are a number of medical office uses there as well. There's a couple car dealerships, single-family homes, townhomes, assisted living to the south, and Baycare Hospital recently announced that they're going to be building a hospital and medical complex to the vacant property to the south as well. The site is is indicated by the star on the screen. We're centrally located within a mixed-use future land use node located at that quadrant of Bruce B. Downs, Wesley Chapel Boulevard, and I-75. The 54 corridor from Old Pasco Road to Bruce B. Downs, as I said, is an existing mixed-use corridor with a variety of mixed-use future land use designation, as well as a mixture of uses that have been constructed in that area. As I noted already, the quadrant that we're located at has a combination of retail shopping centers, medical offices, sit-down and fast food restaurants, auto dealerships, a bank, recently constructed assisted living facility, and to the south of us are townhomes and single-family subdivisions. There is no existing multifamily within this mixed-use quadrant. Multifamily is a compatible use for this area. It is complementary to the range of uses that are there currently and provides for a transition of use and density from the commercial non-residential development to the north to the single-family and townhome development to the south. The site is also a infill location. It's one of the relatively few vacant parcels remaining in this mixed-use node. The majority of it has been built. The other large tract to the south, as I said earlier, is recently announced that Baycare is going to build a hospital there. We are located in the south market area. The conditional use furthers the vision and intent of the district. I won't read these in their entirety, but I do want to point out what's highlighted in red on here, that we are an urban gateway opportunity area. The area is characterized by dense vertical non-residential development as well as sophisticated residential development with quality design, intensity, and density necessary to support transit opportunities. In the upcoming slides, I'll show you how we're consistent with that vision. In addition, the mission states that the mission is to create high-density, compact, and mixed-use development. This area promotes higher density, compact development, and encourages mixed-use communities that are live-work. As staff pointed out in their presentation and elaborates in their staff report, the project is not subject to or included within the policy directive that the County Commission recently adopted regarding multifamily development along the 54 and 56 corridor. That policy is directed more at the corridor as you see on the drawing, which is 3 miles to the south of the site. However, as part of the 54 corridor to the north, we do want to show that we are consistent with the spirit and intent of that policy, even though we're not subject to it. Next slide. As I said, we're not located within the area that is regulated by that policy directive. It specifically excludes the 54 corridor as it goes east of I-75. As you can see in that aerial, we are located east of 75 at this location. But the intent of that policy directive is to promote and locate employment generating land uses along the 54 and 56 corridor. That node is already built out, predominantly built out with commercial and office and other mixed uses, as you can see in the aerial. And the multifamily project will support those uses. As I noted earlier, we are 3 miles north of 56, and we're a quarter mile south of 54. Even though the policy is not applicable to us, we are consistent with the numerous intents of that directive, because we are located behind the non-residential uses that front along the 54 corridor. This is an infill location in that mixed-use node. We are located along a transit corridor, and we're located in an area that is designated for urban development. The site was zoned C2 going back to 1984. And even though it has commercial zoning, there's limited commercial desirability, and it has remained vacant, undeveloped for over 3.5 decades since it was rezoned. Because the site is not located at the node, it's a quarter mile off of the primary intersection. A lot of uses are not interested in locating at this location. They've not been able to find a buyer and developer in the 3.5 decades that the properties had the C2 zoning. In addition, if this was a request for commercial zoning today, let's say the site was agricultural or if it was residential, C2 zoning would not be we would not meet the locational criteria for a commercial node because it exceeds the distance from that node, because being that it's over a quarter mile. There are a variety of commercial uses in the area that support the project, both from opportunities for shopping and eating as well as working. including, as I said, the Baycare facility, which recently announced that they're going to develop in the area, bringing as many as 275 new jobs to the area, as well as assisted living facility, which was recently constructed. This is the conceptual site plan that we prepared for it. The idea is to preserve a significant portion of the property. North on this is to the right of your screen. The southern, roughly half of the property, as you can see, is going to be preserved as wetland and park area, as well as stormwater and floodplain areas. The idea is to create a dense, walkable development focused on a centrally located stormwater pond that will be a visual amenity and recreational amenity. There will be walking trails and activities around that pond, as well as active recreation with a clubhouse and pool, as well as open space areas up there in the northern end, where we would have tot lot, a park, dog park, picnic areas for the enjoyment of the residents. And we included some graphics to show the general idea of what we're looking to provide with those amenities. The letter that was read to you earlier expressed concern about availability of public infrastructure. We wanted to show that residential development has either comparable or less impacts on facilities. There is adequate facilities to support the project. The site, and in furtherance of the policy directive for multifamily, this is a multimodal corridor. The county has a bus route, Route 54, that runs past the site on Bruce B. Downs Boulevard and connects with all of the other routes in the county, providing opportunities for people to live and work here or elsewhere within the county. As we showed already, the site is located within close proximity to other mixture of uses. The county also has Bruce B. Downs designated as a multimodal trail corridor. There is a multi-use trail located on the west side of the road immediately adjacent to our property, and we will connect to that trail from the internal sidewalks in our project. Bruce B. Downs is operating at acceptable level of service, and based on the MPO's latest report and the comp plan, the level of service will remain adequate for into the future. In addition, the site is not located in a hurricane evacuation zone, so that is not a concern at this location either. By way of comparison, we looked at, there's about 9.5 acres of upland area where the main development within the property is going to occur. Realistically, if it was to develop as commercial, it probably would be somewhere in the range of about 110,000 square foot of commercial, something similar to like a public shopping center without parcels. So we use that for our comparison rather than the maximum intensity, which is a 3.0 FAR that's allowed by the land use. We wanted to show something that was more realistic. On the left, you'll see the weekday trips in the gray, white, and blue, showing what a commercial development that would be reasonably be expected to be developed on a site this size would generate for trips, versus the gray box next to it showing what the residential trips would be. And those are total trips on a weekday. On the right side is this same comparison, looking at morning and evening peak hour trips. As you can see, there's a significant reduction in trips compared to commercial development on the property. And under commercial, theoretically, there could be higher intensity than this, so there could be even more trips than that. In addition, water, sewer, and reclaimed are all available to the site. There's a 12-inch water main, a 16-inch sewer force main, and a 24-inch reclaim, all located on the Bruce B. Down frontage. We will be connecting to those and providing central services. By comparison, we looked at the peak flows based on the county's calculation methods. Both water and sewer peak flows would be significantly less than the same size commercial development that I showed you in the trip generation example. In addition, the project creates numerous public benefits. Multifamily creates the highest amount of impact fees compared to other uses. It also is one of the highest generators of real estate taxes, especially compared to single family and commercial uses. And because multifamily is not eligible for homestead or save our homes, the tax revenue continues to increase as values adjust over time. The developer has done a fee estimate and has determined that there'll be over $3 million in fees paid to the county as a result of this project. In addition, the taxable value will go up over $500,000 a year. Got a few slides I'm going to show you next to give you an idea of the type of project. These are not specific to this project, but they're representative of the type of development that the client is trying to develop at this location. This shows, example, it's a compact, multi-story development focused, again, with the open space amenities towards the internal of the site, as well as parking, and primarily internal. Here's some photographs of other projects to give an idea of what that could look like as well. In addition, I'd like to read 2 letters of support that we've received. One is from TLC Management, the Blue Heron Senior Living Facility. It's dated November 17th, 2020. To whom may it concern, Blue Heron Senior Living Community is looking forward to the completion of our facility within the next few months. We fully support advancing development along Groosby Downs Boulevard and welcome the concept of an apartment complex to the area. Please feel to reach out to us with any questions you may have. Sincerely, Ryan Ott, Vice President of Development, TLC Management. In addition, we received a letter of support from Baycare, who's announced that they're going to be opening a new hospital and medical facility with up to 275 new employees. Rebecca Shalowski's letter is dated December 1st. To whom it concerns, I'd like to express my support for the new apartment complex development proposed at the property located at Groosby Downs and Eagleston Boulevard. Could you let me finish this letter, please?
Yeah, Peter, that time's up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, she supports the letter, and okay, and this has been entered in the record. The PowerPoint presentation's been entered in the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
Mr. Chair, I have a question whenever you're ready.
Go ahead, Dave.
Peter, in your infrastructure analysis, I noticed you didn't address schools and parks. Is anybody, and I guess I'll ask the question to the applicant or staff, has anybody looked at school capacity and park capacity to handle this residential development?
We have looked at the facilities. As you know, there's areas that are zoned for specific schools, and then the school board updates their zoning as needed each year. The site is currently located in the Seven Oaks Elementary School service area. Currently, they're at 101% of capacity. Cypress Creek Middle School is located at 82%, and Cypress Creek High School is at 77% of capacity. So the middle school and high school both have more than adequate capacity available to accommodate the project. Seven Oaks is basically at capacity, but there is capacity remaining in adjacent school zones. And we also would be paying school impact fees to offset the impacts of the development.
Okay, and I think David asked about parks too. Have you guys looked at parks?
We will be providing parks on the property. As I showed in the concept plan, I can go back up to that. Past it. I'm sorry, I got to remember where the slide is. There it is. We're proposing a combination of both active and passive park facilities within the project. I have not done an analysis, if you're asking, with regard to county facilities.
Well, it's really up to the applicant at what you do, but my advice to you is when you go to the Board of County Commissioners with this, if we're talking about public infrastructure, you cannot ignore schools and parks. So to do a full public infrastructure analysis, you should be having PowerPoint slides that address those impacts as well.
Okay.
Understood. Thank you, David.
And I guess I'll ask Chris Williams, do you have a plan to address Seven Oaks Elementary as far as expanding capacity for elementary?
As the applicant said, we'll be getting impact, if this were to be approved, we get impact fees from this development. We don't have any immediate plans to address anything in Seven Oaks Elementary. They're slightly above capacity. This particular, again, if this were approved, it would generate approximately 30 elementary school students. There are recently a couple charter schools open that haven't had an impact on Seven Oaks capacity. We'll be building a magnet K-8 in the area in the near future, which would potentially have a impact on Seven Oaks capacity. So at this point in time, we don't object to this particular development.
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead, Roberto.
I'm in a dilemma here. I know this area very well. I live in Seven Oaks for over 12 years already. My subdivision is across the street to Seven Oaks Elementary School, Grassland subdivision. And I have been witness of what is going on in the area. We are talking about 248 units, 248 units. Honestly, I know you have your calculation, the school board, but I feel that would be much more than 30 kids that are going to go to elementary school. When we say that are units of 2 bedrooms, that is families that are starting, that are younger kids. Second, Baker is building over, let's say, 275,000 square footage facility just behind this. I understand this is a really good location to serve those new employees that are going to work in the Baker. But at the same time, I tell you, as a citizen, I go to Publix, and the 2 Publix I have in the south and the north of the 56 and 54 with Bruce B. Down, and try to park there, and every time it's getting busier. We are oversaturated of building like this, an apartment complex. I progress, 100%. I support Bay Care. It's a wonderful project, and I think it's a value for the community. Again, as an owner, I believe it's increasing the value of my property. As a user, it can be a real nightmare. I don't see any type of expansion in Bruce B. Down. I don't see any plan to cover the schools, like you say. It's going to provide impact fees for the school, but I witness of the mess of Seven Oaks Elementary School in the quantity of kids that have there, how many portable classroom they have, and at the same time, my daughters used to go to John Long, then as you know, Seven Oaks changed the location of the schools, and now it's Cypress, and is due that the quantity of houses and families who live around it. So I have a hard time with the project, to be honest with you.
Okay. Thank you, Roberto. Chris, do you have anything?
No, sir.
I'll just add to that. I understand what Roberto's saying, but really, truly, multifamily does not impact us like single-family detached homes does. And so unfortunately, there's a lot of single-family detached homes in that area, and will continue because all of Wiregrass is yet to be built out. And so as far as, when we're looking at stuff, single-family detached has the biggest impact on our school capacity. Personally seeing this particular development here, I think it's a good fit. I think the fact that they struggled to get commercial here, I just think multifamily right in this location is probably a good fit for that.
Okay. Denise, did you say there's nobody else at the public comment kiosk or virtually in attendance to present or oppose?
There's no one at the public comment kiosk, nor are there any emails or anything read into record.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Barbara?
can I just briefly summarize and respond, especially because Commissioner Fayez has really put his position out there as a owner of property. And so I just wanted to say a couple things as the applicant, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
Mr. Williams has went over a couple times the school situation, and I think very well explained the school board's position and his position that is a good location. Our team has explained how Bruce B. Downs does have capacity. My client who developed Seven Oaks actually expanded that road, and well before its time to need to be expanded, so it has a lot of excess capacity. Steve Henry is here if anybody had any specific questions about that. I would also point out that the property would still be zoned C2. We are adding the ability or the opportunity to have a multifamily project with conditional use. But the market can decide whether it would be commercial use or a multifamily use. We are not changing the zoning on this property. We are adding a conditional use for multifamily. The zoning district allows for that. And it has considerations that you go through that your staff went through to consider. It is under the C2, it is a potential use, and then you go through the process of a conditional use to say, is this the right location? And we've gone through that, and between staff's evaluation and our professional planner's evaluation, come to the determination that this is a good location. This is going to be a walkable site to commercial and non-residential uses, employment generating uses, the future hospital. It is what the county always asks us as developers to do, is to create a mixture of uses that mutually support each other, that can be walkable, and this is exactly that location. So I have other teammates, if you have any particular questions. The developer is on the line as well, as Steve Henry, and then of course Pete Pensa.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. And I guess just a couple housekeeping items. I think there is an email that I think everybody on the Planning Commission received from Mark McBride. I did not see it as part of the agenda package, but I did want to mention it. That letter does specifically reference a rezoning. This is not a rezoning. This is a conditional use request. So just to clarify that. And as Barbara stated, it is a conditional use request. I mean, the property is currently zoned and they're allowed all the uses that are allowable under C2. So I think some of the concerns, traffic, obviously traffic, there's less traffic generated with this proposed use. I mean, and again, Barbara hit on this too when she talked. I mean, a lot of what we hear in planning language and when the planners speak is this transitional uses, from commercial uses to higher density residential down to lower density or single family residential. So, I mean, it looks to me, in looking at this, this is exactly what is traditionally asked for. So I mean, from my standpoint, I would be in support of this.
Mr. Chair, could I just get clarity? Mr. McBride's email, did he ask it to be read out loud, or did he?
He did not.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else or any other questions from up here? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve. Chris Poole.
Michael Cox, I'll second.
Okay, motion to approve by Chris Poole, second by Michael Cox. Any other further discussion? If not, roll call vote.
Jamie Girardi,
Aye.
Michael Cox,
Aye.
Roberto Size,
I oppose.
Christopher Poole,
Aye.
Chris Williams?
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, and I think that concludes our regular items agenda and our agenda for today. A motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carries.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a great, everybody.
Happy holidays.